"Mummy!" cried Kamu. It was windy and raining heavily. Kamu didn't like the rain or water, as she could not swim. Kamu was on the wrong ship, far, far away from her family. The ship started to rock forwards and backwards. Then it started to sway left to right. Kamu was very upset. She just wanted to go home. When it rained, Mama always looked after her. She curled up and went to sleep. Kamu loved her sleep. When she woke up, the ship had stopped moving and had arrived at the port. Kamu climbed out of the ship and started to look around. There were big trucks everywhere. Suddenly, she heard voices nearby. "Truck number 5 for the animal kingdom." "Ah, truck number 5, she smiled as she started to look for the truck. Kamu walked around and tried to identify the trucks. The numbers were marked on the side of the trucks in big red writing. "There it is!" she cried as she quickly climbed aboard. There were a lot of trees and plants in the truck, but strangely, no animals. Kamu was feeling tired, as she had not eaten, so she curled up and went to sleep. Kamu was not aware that she had climbed aboard truck number 2 and was not on truck number 5. Remember, Kamu could not count. The truck left the port and headed towards Kuala Lumpur. A few hours later, Kamu was awoken by a huge bang. She got up and stretched her arms. "Where am I?" said Kamu. She had arrived at Kuala Lumpur city centre park. Kamu climbed out of the truck and looked around. There were trees everywhere. It wasn't like her home, it was very different. Kamu walked towards a large group of trees near her and climbed up. Kamu could see a lot of things. There were trees and buildings everywhere. Some of the buildings were very tall. Kamu could also see a lot of people. Kamu was feeling hungry. She ate a few leaves, curled up, and went to sleep. Bang! Bang! Crash! Aku opened his eyes and looked around. The noise around him had awoken him. Aku stretched his arms and yawned. How long had he been asleep for? He got up slowly and climbed on top of the box next to him so that he could look around. Where was he? Aku was afraid. Everything looked different. What had happened to all the snow and ice? Aku climbed out of the container and started to walk around. There were containers everywhere, all with strange writing on the side of them. If only he could read. Suddenly, Aku heard voices and footsteps approaching him. He looked around and there was nowhere to hide. Instead, he quickly climbed into the container next to him and hid inside. The footsteps and voices got louder and louder until they disappeared in another direction. Aku was upset and began to feel all alone. All of a sudden, a big shadow appeared and it went very dark. Aku looked up and saw a big hand approach and grab the container. The container was being lifted very high in the sky by a big crane. Aku was very scared, as he was afraid of heights. What was happening? Bang! The container was lowered and placed onto a big lorry. Then it went quiet. for a short while. Aku kept still. Brum brum went the truck as it then started to move. Where was Aku being taken to? He looked around and noticed that there were boxes everywhere, all with writing on them. Aku felt upset. If only he could read. Aku climbed up on top of the boxes to look around. All he could see were green trees and a very long road. Aku climbed down from the boxes and sat down. He was feeling lonely, thirsty, and missed his family. After a while, the truck stopped. Aku climbed up to see where he was. He could see trees and tall buildings. He climbed out and started to look around. Where was he? Aku heard voices. They were getting louder and louder. He ran quickly and hid under the trees. Little did Aku know that Kamu was sleeping in the tree. As Aku tried to find cover under the branches, Kamu woke up. Kamu was scared as a big white bear was standing underneath her. "Please don't hurt me," said Kamu as she began to cry. Aku looked around and then looked puzzled. "Shh! I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to hide," he said softly. Kamu stopped crying. "Why do you want to hide? You're big and strong," she said. Aku started to explain what had happened. Aku was upset that he could not read or spell, and that was the reason he was in the park. Kamu wiped her tears and climbed down from the tree. She too explained how she ended up in the park as she could not count. "Will you be my friend? I can help you to read and spell if you help me to count," asked Kamu. Aku scratched his head. He was confused. After a few minutes he replied, "Sure, I'm Aku, and I'm a polar bear." Kamu smiled and replied, "Hi Aku, I'm Kamu, and I'm a koala bear." Aku put his arms out and offered Kamu a hug. Kamu leaped into Aku's arms and hugged him. Suddenly they heard voices approaching them. "Quick, let's hide, Aku," said Kamu. They both moved under the trees and hid under the branches. Aku and Kamu had met, and their adventures were about to begin.